See, and I love that about you, because I feel like a lot of people who declare revivals now then says, then come to me. And you're like, no, God's doing it all over the world. And what we're doing is special, but it's not more special than what he could do through you. And I love that humility in what you're doing, because you're constantly telling people you can have impartation. You can be hungry. You can become a vessel for God's outpouring this way. And I think that that's really an important distinction, because people who are declaring revival now, but it's really limited to a small group of people, maybe who all share the same values. A lot of times that doesn't become revival, it just becomes an ingrown church. But what you're doing is people are coming from different theological backgrounds and different places, and you're just saying, come and experience Jesus, and they are. And it's beautiful. I've talked to several pastors who have gone to your meetings, and they've been like, they were just hungry. And one of the pastors, a pastor of a very large church, and he's like, I just decided I didn't have spiritual hunger. And so I went to places where I knew God was reported to move to see if it would awaken hunger in me. Wow. And he's a major pastor. And he goes, when I went to Catherine's meeting, I felt like I remember when I experienced a hunger and the presence like this 20 years ago, but for some reason I allowed the hunger to go away, and it convicted me deeply. And I went up for prayer for impartation, because I guess you prayed for a lot of people in that particular meeting. And he said, and I felt that impartation more than anything of hunger for the presence of God. And it's changed everything. Because I've seen deliverance now. I've street evangelized. I'm the senior pastor, and I'm going out like evangelism teams. He goes, I didn't do that because I had created such a distance between the role of pastoring and actually meeting the presence of God in different places. So I think, like, I've been hearing so many good reports and feedbacks, but it does bring me into, there's a lot of controversy too, because you're a woman apostle. You go after signs and wonders and deliverance. You're linked to, like, your spiritual father's a controversial figure. You have a lot of hits against you, according to the online, those spiritual hit groups who are looking for how to take you down. And because you're so visible and you don't hide, you actually you do Instagram lives, you do, social media. You were doing a huge TikTok. You had over 1 million followers on TikTok before they took you down. And I'd love to hear if you're coming back on TikTok. I can't wait. But like, how do you deal with controversy when people are coming? Because I've looked at your stuff. I've watched you lots of times. I've watched you many times. You don't know I'm watching. I'm just one of the many people on there. And your Bible basics, like your Jesus is on the throne. You needed a home to get saved. Like all the things that I've heard you say. I've personally never heard anything controversial come out of you. And I've listened to you a lot of times. But for some reason, people look at you, whether it's, again, woman, miracles, people you're associated with, whatever. How do you deal with that when that comes really strongly from major groups who are trying to dismantle people like you?
Well, first of all, God is just so amazing with his preparation, God called me, it'll be 7 years this coming September. That's how long ago I received this prophecy over my life. And I really believed that what's happening now was going to happen, but I didn't see it for 4.5 years though. But I was like meditating on it, believing the promise every day. And I faced spiritual attack like I never imagined, like Bible come alive spiritual attack, backstabbing, betrayals, false accusations. I faced that the first year that we had the church. And this is when there were 20 people. Like there was lies made up, and we had 20 people in the church, and like more than half believed it and left. And then the same people called the place where we were running our place to have church and made up a completely different lie to try to shut us down. And the people didn't believe it, the owner of the building, and God's favor was with us, and nothing stopped the work of God. But God began to take me through intense testing in the very beginning. And that's just one example. So God prepared me, first of all. That's the only way, because of his grace, that he prepared me. He took me through wilderness. He took me through many testings. But then this past 2022, I faced persecution and attack like I never had before. But looking back, I see how he had prepared me. So I thank God for his grace of that, because there's no way I could have handled it otherwise. I would have given up. But how I handled it in the middle of it was just looking to Jesus and remembering I cannot fear man. I must only fear God. As Paul says, if I were trying to seek the approval of man, of people, then I would not be a servant of God. And so like, I just like saw it for what it was in the spiritual realm, as you see with David, as you see with Joseph, son of Jacob, Jesus. if you are anointed, if you have a big calling, there are extreme haters. There are extreme jealousy, persecution that God allows to refine your heart, to test you. And it's just for a season though. And he backs you up. He's your vindicator. He proves he's with you. So I just renewed my mind of those truths. And I recognized God has to refine me more. And this is how he's doing it. So I'm not going to complain. I'm not going to have fear. I know what God has called me to. I feel confident in what he's called me to. I trust him. And so I just like humbled myself. I allowed this time to refine me and just keep my eyes on him. If I learned I had to keep my eyes on him like never before and not listen to the bad news, not listen to the gossip and the bad things that were said about me, but stay focused on him and what he's called me to do.
No, it's so important. And I think that that's in all that we're doing. We don't